Can you describe exactly what cell fuel is? I mean, we break that down.
Cell fuel is sort of the overarching name for the program, and within that there's a foundational program, there's a comprehensive program, and then there's sort of these individual nutraceutical options that people can choose. But in the foundational product, there's essentially, or a foundational program, there's essentially two products, and they're encapsulated nutraceutical products. One is called Mito Energy, and what that essentially is all of the types of nutrients, nutraceuticals, botanicals, precursors that mitochondria need to do their job, to make energy, to make ATP or adenosine triphosphate, which the body then pulls apart to harvest energy. It's like energy currency in the body, ATP. So in Mito Energy, for instance, you'll have all of the critical B vitamin cofactors in their correct form, so in their methylated form or phosphorylated form that the body needs, which is very different than the form you would get in an off-the-shelf, let's say, B complex or multivitamin, and at the right therapeutic levels. But you'll also get really critical nutrients for energy production in the mitochondria. Things like L-carnitine. L-carnitine is a shuttle compound made of 2 amino acids. The body makes it, but we derive it a lot in our diet. Carnitine from carnivore, right? So it's in meat. It's actually in the muscle tissue that you might eat from another animal. So people who are vegetarians, let's say, would be more likely to have a suboptimal carnitine level and need supplementation of it. But even those who do eat meat, a lot of them do need more carnitine. And carnitine shuttles fats into the mitochondria in the cell, which is the furnace that burns it to energy. CoQ10 is another very important nutrient. It's a weak link often in the production of ATP in the mitochondria. And we make it internally. We also derive it in the diet or through supplementation. And there's many classes of drugs. The most notable would be the cholesterol-lowering drugs known as statin drugs. Significantly lower our body's ability to produce CoQ10. So many people who have fatigue, lethargy, muscle ache after taking statin drugs, particularly at higher dosages like 20 or even 40 milligrams a day, experience these type of symptoms. You can mitigate that to a large degree by taking supplemental CoQ10. But rather than having to take separate L-carnitine, separate CoQ10, separate B complex, and then some of the botanicals that are really needed for this mitochondrial biogenesis process. In this Mito Energy product, you're getting trans-resveratrol, which activates the SIRT1 complex, which many people have maybe seen the 60 Minutes or 2020, I can't remember, I think it was a 60 Minutes piece on some of the researchers up at Harvard looking at very concentrated resveratrol compounds and anti-aging, and that's because of its effect on mitochondria. So there's trans-resveratrol in it. There's also a tri-standardized curcumin complex, and that's very important in this process of mitochondrial biogenesis. There's things like alpha-lipoic acid, which is very critical in some of the biochemical steps in harvesting energy out of carbohydrates in particular. There's some panathine, which shuttles fats from the bloodstream into the cells, where carnitine then shuttles it into the mitochondria. So it's sort of a 1-2 punch. So it's very well designed with an understanding of the biochemical pathways and of the literature base out there to support these critical nutrients, precursors, and botanicals in mitochondrial function. So that's Mito Energy. There's a companion product called Mito Power, which only has 2 components in it. One is something called PQQ. PQQ is a vitamin-like compound, which means we can't make it internally in the body. We have to derive it from food. It's not technically a vitamin. It's a B vitamin-like compound. You find it in green peppers, in green tea. You find it in papaya, in parsley, for instance. So if you're eating a lot of that, which a lot of people aren't, unfortunately, you're getting some in your diet, but we use it at much higher, like higher than normal physiological levels to push mitochondrial function. And PQQ is cardioprotective, it's neuroprotective, but it works on a couple of different enzyme pathways. One is that SIRT1 pathway, but another is the PCG1 pathway, and it basically drives this process directly known as mitochondrial biogenesis. It makes you as an individual produce more mitochondria per muscle cell, and therefore you have more what the literature talks about as mitochondrial density. It means when you eat things, when you eat carbohydrates, fats, or proteins, you are more efficient then at burning that down to energy and harvesting that energy to feel better and to do more rather than tucking it away as fat. And that's very important. You don't want to keep tucking it away as fat. You want to burn it as energy. And many people, particularly those that have what we call a thrifty genotype, where they eat, they put it on as fat. They don't burn it as energy. They're sort of storing up fat for a rainy day, sort of like a bear getting ready to hibernate, because they have this genome that was cultivated in an era where there was commonly long periods of time without food. There was famine, basically, and we don't have that now. The grocery stores are open 24 hours a day. The famine never comes, but their genes are getting ready for it. So in this case, we're making more furnaces in your cells to burn that stuff down as energy instead of storing it as fat. So PQQ is a big component of Mito Power. The other thing is an herb often called golden root in common vernacular, but it's rhodiola rosacea. And rhodiola is a very, very important herb also in this process known as mitochondrial biogenesis, but it's also a very potent antioxidant. So the mitochondria are subject to a lot of oxidative stress just by virtue of their function, so they can get damaged, and their DNA gets damaged, and that's why they don't perform as well as we age. So this sort of slows down that internal damage that occurs due to oxidative stress, and it's also just a great antioxidant to protect the heart and the nervous system through the whole process. So that's the foundational program. When you go to the comprehensive program, you actually add higher levels of certain things, particularly L-carnitine, and a direct energy source for the mitochondria known as ribose. Ribose and L-carnitine are used at high dose, even intravenously, in various heart diseases such as cardiomyopathy. And the heart never stops. It needs energy all the time, even when you're sleeping. So if you're having a problem there, often it's a mitochondrial issue in the heart muscle. So they drive the mitochondria harder with high levels of L-carnitine and ribose. And often it's beyond the level that you can tolerate taking in a capsule form. So we have a liquid product called Mito Rev, which has high-dose ribose and L-carnitine. So it's about 2.5 grams of carnitine per teaspoon. It's a lot. And that's what you really need for driving mitochondrial function significantly, for weight loss, body composition optimization. So that's another companion product. And then it also adds a really high quality nutraceutical grade multivitamin, multimineral. So you're getting the phosphorylated forms of the B vitamins, the methylated B12 and folates. You're getting minerals in the true chelated form. So they're all the most bioidentical form of these nutrients possible, which is not what you get when you buy the pallet of vitamins at Sam's Club for $5. It's just not. You're comparing a Ferrari to a Chevy Impala, and there's a reason why they're a little bit different.